Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. This is a piece of news coming from the Ukrainian side, making some claims. And this piece of news, I think, made a lot of people in the West comfortable and maybe, happy. But what do I know? And it is about the Wagner Group. Wagner Group, if you remember, is that Russian mercenary army owned by Yevgeny Prigozhin, this bad dude, and we find out that Wagner Group's units lost up to 80% of their personnel in Donbas. So this article came out of Ukrainska Pravda's on Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. So alright, maybe they're gonna tell us how many they were, how many at the beginning, how many they are, and then they found out about 80%, right? That's how you find percentages as far as I know. The problem is with these guys who are claiming stuff is that they do not provide exact numbers, or at least when they give you 80%, they, as I said, mathematics, arithmetics, calculus is their worst enemy. All right, let's see, maybe they give us the information down here. Ukrainian soldiers are inflicting significant losses on Russian forces in Ukraine's east despite round-the-clock attacks by the occupiers. The source is Hanna Maliar, Ukrainian Deputy Minister of Defense. Quote, "The enemy's offensive is ongoing in Ukraine's east. The attacks are taking place around the clock. The situation is tense. Yes, it's hard for our troops. You can see for yourself what kind of war Russia is waging. However, our soldiers are preventing the enemy from accomplishing their goals and inflicting very serious losses. In particular, losses amount to up to 80% of personnel." All right, from how many are right now? I think it's kind of quiet. "In some assault units of the Wagner PMC, private military company, and units of the 2nd Army Corps, evacuation of those killed and wounded by the hostilities is limited or not carried out at all." So they're evil, basically. But we knew that already, every day. As Maliar states, Russia's significant losses have led to a significant decline in the level of credibility of the command's decisions on combat operations among the personnel of the Russian occupation forces. And I'm quoting, "An increasing number of Russian soldiers are realizing that their commanders are inadequately assessing the situation on the battlefield, as evidenced by the intensive use of so-called," and I'm quoting, "suicide squads," yeah, like Stalin, right? "Units staffed by insufficiently trained conscripted personnel who suffer heavy combat and sanitary losses every day," she reported. Background: Ukraine's defense intelligence, which tells us all the truth that we need to know, reported that the losses of the Russian occupying forces were currently the largest since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, and their priority remained to reach the administrative borders of Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. Okay, at least I didn't say that the Russians want to conquer the entire territory of Ukraine like others sometimes say, but this comes and goes. Now, let me tell you this thing. First, she doesn't give me any information on how many people were there at the beginning, how many are right now, so you can find the percentages. But hey, it's okay. We believe her. And then the other thing, the important thing is like this. Let's say you have a front where you fight the enemy. And this is, let's say, from this to there. So it is like this. And today you start with 100 people and he starts with 5 million. So it's a certain kind of engagement. But then you bring, let's say, 5 million and they got 5 million. Aren't the losses bigger? Is it because maybe the fight intensified? Maybe it's because more personnel is engaged? Maybe both? So you see, Maliar tells us, or whoever the intelligence services tell us, that the Russians are losing the most now. Very possible Very possible. But on the other hand, they also intensified their attacks. They also brought more troops. So, the chance is that you're going to shoot more. Let's say you're defending your country and you have your little thing with you and you have 3 people showing up towards you. You defend the country and there's 3 people. But then if you have this and there's, let's say, 3,000 coming over, Red Rover, you do broop, click, and so on. And then you say, well, in 2 minutes, this is the amount. Before, the 2 minutes were 3. So that could be another reason. What's certain is the Russians are using more troops, so that's, I would say, normal if the Ukrainians are fighting hard. If they don't fight hard, then these guys don't die. So the Ukrainians are returning the favor, let's put it this way. On the other hand, if the Russians do not want to fight and they still advance, as they reported 2 days ago, then you have a problem with your defense. I mean, you have to pick a narrative here. Because if you say the enemies are weak, but we're still losing, that tells me about you more than the enemies. So you better make the enemy strong, and then if you lose, you say, well, I lost, but it was a strong enemy. But you say the enemy is drunk, they're coming like crazies, and they're not trained, and zombies, and so on, and they still advance, or at least the front stays where it's at. You are not conducting any counteroffensive yet, because the Ukrainians said that they will start one in the spring. Now, we'll find out when they receive the tanks, and I don't know if they're going to receive the airplanes yet. So 80% of the Wagner Group personnel, most units or whatever units over there, they're done. That means we will not really hear anything about Prigozin's Wagner Group anymore. That means he's not going to be around Putin anymore, because they say Putin, leans on Prigozhin for his power. Now, if Prigozhin doesn't have the army, then Putin can go home alone. You know what happens with this kind of people when they go home alone. They drink to death. Anyway, so this is what has been reported. We should not hear about the Wagner Group anymore. They cannot recruit anymore from the penitentiaries, because supposedly Shoigu fights with Prigozhin. So then Shoigu said, no, you can't do that anymore, so you die, so I can take over. Because here Hollywood is still powerful, therefore a lot of people think that it's sometimes like that. If it would have been like that, I guarantee you Prigozhin would have been gone a long time ago. You know what I mean? He would have just they would have taken care of him by accident. Don't have to. By accident meaning being in an airplane or in a helicopter or in a car, friendly fire, just go, something explodes. It happens like this with officials, with Prigozhin. So that's, again, I don't believe anything about that. I mean, not anything. Not even 1%. Envies, jealousies, yes, there's plenty of, I guarantee you that. But this kind of, could be. But as of now, I have no evidence, but this guy's telling me that, and I have big doubts. Why? Because I have a brain. Thank you very much for being with me again today. And I hope you have a brain too, but since you're here with me, you must have one. Otherwise, you would just ingurgitating whatever the media would tell you. And you're not, because you're this far into this video with me. And you wouldn't have stand me. You wouldn't have stand me to watch me for so long. See you next time. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.